Have you ever hit a wall in your career where every step feels like quicksand? Well, if you have, you're not alone. What if I told you that being stuck isn't the end? It's actually the turning point that can unlock your greatest leadership potential. Let's go ahead and get this episode started. Welcome to Transformation Station, the podcast where we fuel your journey of growth, resilience, and reinvention. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today we're diving into a powerful truth. Here's the truth: moments of being stuck, they are not dead ends. Guess what? They're actually crossroads. In fact, they're often the very places where leaders are made. And in this episode, we're going to unpack real strategies, timeless lessons to help you not just move out past those stuck seasons, but to help you and I to rise stronger, clearer, and more influential than ever. So listen. Today, I am super excited because I have an amazing guest. She really is. Let me tell you about her. Her name is Rachel. Rachel helps performing professionals trade high paid, soul sucking careers for soul aligned work that still makes them a great income. And Rachel believes that you can work for a job for a high pay and be miserable, unhealthy, or sick, or you can apply your gifts and talents in a way that makes you great money and love what you do by aligning your career with your values and purpose. Listen, Transformation Station community. Right now, let's welcome Rachel. Rachel, welcome to our vital conversations today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you and your community.
Thank you so much. So, listen, I have been looking forward to this conversation, right? It's called Stuck is Not the End. All right. So, hear me out, Rachel. A few years ago, I spoke with a leader who had everything that looked like success, right? The title, the corner office with the window, influence, but over drinking some, he was drinking coffee, I was drinking tea. He admitted something to me. He admitted this thing that stuck with me. He said, "I've achieved everything I thought I wanted, yet I feel completely empty."
Mm,
And you know, Rachel, that conversation taught me something powerful. It taught me that achievement without alignment leads to burnout and or dissatisfaction. And you know, when I think of people being at career crossroads, it kind of reminds me of like chasing that next thing, trying to find what's safe to hold on to, but it's not fulfilling. You're at
mhm.
a crossroad. So I want to start off by asking you this question. From your experience, what would you say are some of the most common mistakes that you have seen or heard of leaders making when they're trying to navigate through uncertainty or navigate through transitions?
Okay. I will speak to leaders and I will speak as a leader myself.
Yes.
And what I see as the most common experiences are not listening to yourself
Mm.
for fear of, well, let's talk about that person who you're having coffee with. He's
Yes.
achieved everything, everything
Yes.
looks good on paper. And
Yes.
all of a sudden, if you are not living the way that you want to and you've quote done all of the things or are doing all of the things, then you have to look inward and then you
Mm.
have to really start getting uncomfortable,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and that is what causes movement. If our
Mm.
car is going well, if our house is fine, we're not going to fix it. We're not going to fix it if it's not broken. But
Correct.
all of a
Correct.
sudden, when we see that we are stuck or we are experiencing it, and very often it's our body that experiences it, we can't outrun our body. Most
Mm-hmm.
people come to me, or I start working with them when they are having physical sensations, heart palpitations, sweat, insomnia. They feel so out of alignment and they've basically become accustomed to feeling this way.
Mm.
And then it catches up with them
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Especially now, there is a moment of, it's a beautiful moment that we're in. We're craving authenticity. We are craving authenticity. So to have to put on a mask all day at work with your colleagues, with your boss, it can get exhausting and it can have its own ramifications if we're not attuning to what matters to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely 1000% agree with what you're saying. You know, Rachel, I've often seen as well, maybe experienced myself, but sometimes, like I know when I've been at a crossroad, sometimes I struggle with failing to communicate the vision. It's like because things are a little cloudy to me, I have a hard time then communicating that, and then my team has a hard time being able to follow. Right? Sometimes we underestimate the need to reinforce the why behind what we're doing, the why,
Mhm,
right? And so sometimes that can be a little tricky. Another mistake that I've seen sometimes is isolation
mhm,
because things are unclear or because we feel some sense of stress from the crossroad, from being in that season, we start to isolate ourselves, pull back as opposed to leaning in, right? And maybe seeking a mentor or a coach, right? Asking questions that will help us not stay stuck, but to just to keep diving a little bit deeper. Hmm.
Yeah, and I see that there are three main areas where people get out of alignment or become
Okay.
out of alignment. And those are your skills. You're using skills that do not feel aligned to what you want to be doing. So maybe you're really good at doing Excel or you're really good at doing project management, but you don't enjoy doing it. You've just been doing it for so long. So that's the first one out of alignment, skills. The second one is values. Your values have shifted, or the organizational values have shifted. Something is off, whether it's you don't believe in the product, you don't have the flexibility that you want, it's not a place that honors the same things that you do. It's very hard to show up and give our best work, and of course as leaders we always want to give our best work when the values and the skills are out of alignment. And then lastly, when you're not curious about the problem that you're working on. So, as human beings, especially those with children or small children or just children in their lives, we are innately curious people. We want to understand, um, how does as I share with you, I have small children. Like, what is dirt? What is it made of? What's that
Mhm.
tree made of? What makes this company tick? Why are we doing the work that we're doing? And if
Yes.
we're not curious about it, and I don't mean every day, every moment, but I mean in a dinner party conversation, we would want to join that conversation. We are naturally inclined to get behind that.
Yes.
If that's out of alignment, if your skills are out of alignment, if your values are out of alignment, or if your intellectual curiosity is out of alignment,
Mhm.
that is when all of a sudden we are not in what is called the center of that Venn diagram is your flow state.
Mm.
And
This is
that was me in my story. And that's how I started actually doing this work as well.
We definitely want to hear your story in a moment. You know, here in our vital conversations, we always take a moment to give our viewers and our listeners a moment to pause, right? And so Rachel shared with us that's something that's really important, right? She talked about being out of alignment, and she said they look at and see that there are three things usually, right, that are out of alignment that are kind of indicators: your skills, your values, and losing that sense of curiosity. Right. I love that. And so those of you who are listening and watching, I want to invite you right now to take a pause and assess, right, your alignment, right, with where you are as a leader, whether you're leading in your home, whether you're leading in the community, whether you're leading in an organization, right? We're all leaders. We all have the ability to have impact. And we're talking right now about when you find yourself at that crossroad. So, Rachel, tell us a little bit more about your story.
Yeah. So I was flying high, as I like to say, in the marketing world, in the startup world. I was doing operations, project management. I was loving what I was doing. So I
Mhm.
was a senior program director at a large organization here in Boston where I live. And I actually had my what I call my dark night of the soul, which is when things are really out of alignment and you can't run from it anymore. When I
Mhm.
was giving a keynote at an international conference.
Okay.
And I was there and I realized, oh my gosh, my attention to what I'm doing is not where it needs to be.
Mm.
While I was having this wonderful professional experience in my personal life, I was thrust on this unexpected journey, as many of us are, either in
Mm-hmm.
a caretaking facility or family planning. And so what happened is I was working towards planning my family and
Mm-hmm.
running into some challenges, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And so there I was at work, presenting myself a very specific way, but internally feeling quite differently and
Yes.
did not understand how to bridge the two.
Yes.
And of course, remained professional, did all the things I needed to do, but internally, my values started shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Mm-hmm.
what happened to me is at that international conference, I was on the flight home and I was
Yes.
watching Moana. This is why we have to have a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And movies, books, art, they can take us places. And I started crying. I said, Moana is living her dream. She's
Mm.
figuring out how to go into the ocean. She's trying to figure out what kind of leader she wants to be. I
Mm-hmm.
need to start looking at myself and realizing, who do I want to be? Because what I'm
Yes.
doing right now, what
Is not
looks like
it.
the pinnacle of my career, is not it. It feels
Mm-hmm.
off.
Mm.
And so I was feeling very stuck. I started working with a coach. This was in 2019. I had
Mm-hmm.
a 1-year-old at that point. I had a mortgage. Had all the constraints that I work with people on outlining.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I want to be doing something radically different. And with the support of my coach and 40 informational interviews, a ton of research, I tell everybody I help everybody I work with make what I call a calculated risk on what they want to do next. And what they want to do
Mm-hmm.
next could be right in their own organization.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I decided to leave my senior director position and go back to school full time to become a therapist.
Okay.
And I
Mm-hmm.
am now a therapist in private practice. Fast forward 5 years later, I have a full private practice. I've done all my clinical hours, developed some wonderful colleagues in the field, and realized people actually started reaching out to me and said, "You seem so much happier. How did you do this? What's the secret sauce here?" And
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there's a connection between, of course, our mental health and all of
Mm-hmm.
the career strategies that I love helping people with. I've always been a writer. I've always helped people with their resumes and their LinkedIn's and public speaking. So I marry those two together in this work that I do, which is career clarity, confidence, and coaching work.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. So, you're giving us a real life example of how we don't have to be stuck, right? We may have seasons where we need some more clarity. We may find ourselves at a crossroads, but we don't have to stay stuck. There are options to be able to move forward. So, let me ask you this because as you were talking, I was thinking about this. What are the mental and physical health impact of staying in a career where you are miserable? This is
Whew.
important.
This is huge. Well,
Yes.
I will tell everyone I like to think about things in models. And so I say we have relationships. Those are our personal relationships, our professional relationships, and our relationships with work for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I say that because it helps kind of moderate, okay, I'm having some strong physical discomfort from my job. It's not a it could be a toxic situation, it's not a healthy situation. I'm going to stay in this job for this reason, to make a paycheck and to make an exit plan. Then, psychologically, okay, I'm going to start to create an exit plan that is aligned with who I am, what I want to be doing, researching the fields that can make me money based on what I'm naturally good at. And that could look very different than what it looks like right now. And that is, we could talk about the world of work changing. The 9 to 5 is going away, whether we like it or not. It really
Yes.
is.
Yes.
And there's
Mhm.
all this research out there that the computer is the new factory. Like we could be at work anywhere, anytime, right? You're in a different country than I am right now, and we're both working in different time zones. It's just a different way of working.
Mhm.
But really, if we go back to that mental and physical health,
Mhm.
it's depression, it's anxiety, It's some of those physical symptoms that I talked about earlier, dry mouth, heart palpitations. These are serious
Mhm.
physical and mental health implications that over time cumulatively wear on us.
Absolutely, 1000%. And, so those who are listening and watching, Rachel has mentioned some health impacts, some wellness impacts. If you find yourself right now and you are wrestling with these, if you're experiencing these, please, I want to invite you to go to the doctor, right? Go and get some help. You may not be able to necessarily quit your job right now, but your well-being is important, right? You may experience things like weight fluctuation, chronic pain, and fatigue. These are signs. Rachel, I think about the book The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes, of course.
And,
Have it
I
on
love
yourself.
that book. Absolutely love it because it really made me stop and think about the fact that, as things are happening, we're dealing with challenges and chaos, confusion, even whether actually the joy and the pains of life, right?
Of course.
We move on from episodes, from occurrences, from situations, right? But our body doesn't just move on. Our body keeps that score. And then, a year down the road, you've been working, going in early, going home late, not eating, all these things. And then a year later, you're like, why do I constantly have this knot in my shoulder, right? Why is my blood pressure raised up so high? Because the body is keeping the score and your body's sending you signals. We got to stop and pay attention. And there
Mhm.
needs to be a reset. There needs to be an adjustment. And if you're listening right now and you resonate with this, don't say ouch. Just stop and think and say, okay, what reset do I need to put in place? Hmm.
Yeah, there is so much in the body keeps the score, and so what I want to recommend to everybody right now is what's called a somatic practice, which is a psychological term for how is your body feeling.
Mhm.
And if you're walking into an environment, work, socially, spiritually, where your body actually gets tighter and contracts into itself, it's actually your body protecting itself. Versus you walk in somewhere or you see someone and your whole body expands.
Hmm. Hmm.
What we're trying to do is tap into the signals the body is giving us and
Mhm.
then why? Investigate, well, why is my body contracting? Oh, because I have a boss that turns to me every day. This is a true story, and
Mhm.
says, "Is it 5 o'clock yet?" Okay, well,
Mm.
that's not inspiring me.
Right.
So
Right.
my body is feeling that versus somebody reached out to me for a speaking opportunity, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Wow. Like that whole, if you're listening, but you're not seeing, my whole body is opening up like an accordion, right? Versus
Mm.
that turtle kind of contracting. And it really does require us to slow down, tune in, ask why, and then really the next part of this is connecting with someone who's not going to dismiss that, oh, well, work just sucks. That's just how it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
But who's
Mhm.
basically going to give you permission, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a good friend. I
Mhm.
wonder why your body does that. And is then you're in community, then you're in that kind of rich dialogue with people,
Mhm.
as opposed to just kind of rolling over and taking it. That's 100%. I believe life is not designed to be that way.
Yes. Yes.
And the one other thing I'll say is kind of a tool for people is I nothing's 100%. You said earlier the good, the bad. I
Mhm.
try to coach to 80%. That's my goal.
Mhm.
So I would like everyone who's listening right now to think about what percent happy are you in
Mhm.
your current role?
I love that. I love that. So that's a question. Those of you who are listening and watching, what percent happy are you? And it's a no judgment question, but it's a question for just honest reflection, right? We have with us Simone Scott, who is here, and she says, wonderful discussion. My body is certainly keeping the score. Yes, Simone. Our bodies are definitely keeping the score. I love it. And so, Rachel, I think about this because a moment ago you said reason, season, right? So you say careers are for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Can you explain what do you mean by this?
Yes. So when we think about a reason for a job, right, it's I'm taking this job right now because my kids are in school during these hours and it's a great fit for the reason that's going on with me. Or maybe it's a season. I'm going to take this until my kids are in eighth grade or something like that, where it's very conditional
Mm-hmm.
versus that lifetime, which is I want to commit to working on this thing because it
Mm-hmm.
matters that much to me.
Okay.
And I think when we're stuck, we often get into, oh my gosh, I'm doing this for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically kind of chains us to the position that we're in, as opposed to hold on. I coach everyone on this that we want to take a job or leave a job for 2 to 3 reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking this job because it's more money, it's a better commute, it's a lateral move, X, Y, and Z. I'm leaving this job because I've outgrown this kind of organization. So
Mm-hmm.
if we have these parameters by which we are taking, leaving, trying on different opportunities, then we can coach ourselves, which is really the goal.
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, I'm keeping this job for a reason. All right, this is my reason. And this is how long the season is going to be. And if
Mm-hmm.
I really love it, I'm going to grow it into a lifetime opportunity. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
not locked into doing this for my lifetime.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
people feel that they're locked into doing it for the lifetime, that's when people make impulsive decisions and they
Mm-hmm.
quit without a plan, or they leave or exit a company in a kind of negative way, and then that catches up with them. I'm always about building and strengthening the bridge as you leave because it's a small world out there, and people
Mm-hmm.
know people. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the main reasons that I think about. Okay, how do we coach ourselves to say this is not my 80%, but I'm making a plan towards my 80% and a
Mm-hmm.
timeline for that plan.
I love it. And I really think, Rachel, that this is extremely important, right? Because you mentioned something earlier. Like we're working in jobs where no longer are we really staying for the long haul, right? I remember growing up, retirement was the big thing, and you were going to get this pension, and you were going to, and people look forward to working at a particular company or a place for 20 years, for 30 years, for 40 years. That's not the world in which we live right now at all. So it's really important, as you're saying, to get clarity, right? Am I here for a season? Am I here for a reason? Or am I here for a lifetime? And I think sometimes we get caught up when we cling to the idea that every role, every job, every assignment must last forever. Right? And then that's where some of the things we talked about, the guilt, the burnout, feeling stuck,
Mhm.
that's where that has opportunity to come in and then have residence, right?
And I want to talk about this stuck piece a little bit more, which I know is what we're talking about, because let's go to that 80%. Most people who find me, who we start working together, they're between 20 and 40% happy. And I will say, would you live in a house that was 60% falling apart? No. Would you stay in a marriage that was 60% falling apart? Probably not, right? Or you'd work on it quite a bit. And so these are the pillars of our life: what we do, who we spend time with, where we live in our environment and community, and our health. Those are the four, I believe, strongest pillars of our life because they make up the well being of our life. What we want to do is not say 80% is the top of the hill and I'm never going to get there, but what's one way I could get to 31% tomorrow or 32%? Let me try this thing. Let me reconnect with that person. Let me read this blog. Let me listen to this kind of podcast. Because again, those are some of the body expansion opportunities that can help enliven us when we're feeling at a low point of satisfaction. It's going to be a little bit at a time. I say this all the time in therapy sessions with clients. There is no silver bullet. I'm sorry, but there's not. It takes life. We have to hack at it at different ways with different kinds of supports: physically, mental health, community, connection, relationship. Um, and so the more we can throw at our unhappiness
Mm-hmm.
in a very strategic way, the more we're going to move away from how unhappy we are. But it's going to be a little bit at a time. And I see people say, oh, I'm going to quit this job. I'm going to do something totally new. And then I call it out of the fryer and into the pan. And all of a sudden they're not happy, but they haven't slowed down and said, well, what have been my most joyful moments? Oh,
Yeah.
here's another assignment I'll give people, by the way, if that's okay.
Yes, please, absolutely.
I call it your internal resume,
Mm-hmm.
which is the resume that nobody else can see, but are your most proud career moments. when you either took a risk or you ventured into something new? What were the moments? Well, I moved to that city. I didn't know anybody and I built this thing. Or here's another proud moment of my career. I took a job that I thought was going to be a pay cut, but I was the happiest I was there because I was doing these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you could take that, you could put it in ChatGPT and say, what are the top three themes of what I'm enjoying? All of a sudden, you have more clarity on, what lights me up and why, and what drains me and why.
Mm. Those are very good questions. Talk to us a little bit more about that. Why is it important to get clarity on what drains me and what gives me life?
Hmm. Well, time moves fast. I think here in the US and in Italy and all over the world, right? So if we
Mhm.
are unhappy, but we don't take a lot of movement towards it, all of a sudden it's been 6 months, it's been a year. Life does move quickly in that way. And we just
Mhm.
keep doing the same thing that we're doing. And so in terms of clarity, it's a lot of people find me and they say, my rudder doesn't have a direction right now. Where am
Mm.
I going? What am I building? I love the book that I reference often. It's very good for leaders. It's called Meaningful Work.
Okay.
And we derive joy often as leaders, as managers, as sole proprietors from three main areas. It's called the three C's. So
Okay.
it's contribution,
Mhm.
community, and challenge. And so if we're not feeling that we're contributing to something that has some real weight to it, if we're not challenged in the ways that light us up or that just make us feel excited about, this is what I call a good hard. A good hard is like, this is hard, but I'm growing from it. Like I'm flexing a new muscle. I've never done this, but I want to learn it. And the last one is that challenge community piece, right? So in terms of community, pardon me, it's who am I doing it with? Am I inspired by the people around me? Do I see what they're growing? Do I see how excited they are? Or are they is it 5 o'clock yet, boss? Or, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it didn't speak to me. It didn't inspire me.
Mhm.
And so who are we surrounding ourselves with in work, out of work, as far as community?
Mhm. I love this. I love it. The three C's: contribution, community, and challenge. Fantastic. And to everybody listening and watching, I want you to go back on the replay so that you can get these gems and these nuggets, right? So Rachel, as we kind of turn the corner a little bit, I want to ask you this question. Or rather, I want to hear a little bit more from you and your experience. Can you share a time when you felt truly stuck in your career, and what was that moment, and what did that moment reveal to you as a leader? Can you share a time where you felt stuck in your career?
Hmm. Yeah, so I shared my major career pivots. I also do think we have small, medium, and large career pivots as well. And not every, I made a large one by leaving my senior director position in the corporate world to become a social worker and a therapist. Best decision I ever made, by the way. I always say that, my best Adele calculated risk, because I'm just so much more aligned. Um, but a moment where I felt stuck was actually fairly recently. I had made the move. I had gone to school. I was working towards all my hours and my certification. And I basically was presented with an opportunity that seemed good on paper. But when I was doing it, it was actually not why I went into this field. It was a
Mm,
lot of case management work. It was a lot of risk management. And I'm doing this work because I like to connect with people deeply, and
mm,
that felt much more administrative in nature.
okay.
And so I had to take a good hard look at myself and say, okay, I'm not stuck in the way that I was before, but I am stuck in sort of the skill misalignment. I'm using skills all day that don't speak to the skills that I want to cultivate and develop. So I turn to another recommendation. I've built my board of advisors. I literally call them my board of advisors, people who
Mhm,
are on Team Rachel. Doesn't
mm,
matter if I'm Team Rachel at this company, Team Rachel at that company, but
mhm,
they know me. They see who I am. And I've kind of collected them over the years. I'm sure everyone here has the people that you really connect with,
mhm,
um, you kind of collect over time. And I work with them on, well, what do I want to design next? And I realized I want to design my own therapy practice,
mhm,
and I want to design my own career practice. And so I took another calculated risk and I left full time work And for the first time in my entire career, I'm working for myself.
Wow. Wow.
And it's been 2 months. I'm in my third month, and it's been
Mhm.
phenomenal. Right now, I'm
Mhm.
at an office that I'm renting from one of the people on my board of advisors. She said, "Sure, you can
Mhm.
have an office, of course."
Mhm.
And so I'm here one day a week. I'm teaching at the university that I worked at day a week. I'm putting it together in that fractional way that I help people figure
Mhm.
out, okay, well, if I'm in alignment, then the opportunities are going to come to me in alignment as well.
Mhm. Okay, so Rachel, let's bring it home, right? Because I know that there are people that are listening and saying, "Wow, I get it. Stuck is not the end. Got it. There are things, there are signs that I should look out for. Got it. I need to take care of my well-being. Got it. But how do I really know when it's the right time, right? So I'm going to ask you this question. When is it the right time to quit, or when is it the right time to end one thing? And how does one know that this is the right move? Like, how did you know that it was the right time and it was just the right move?
Okay, I like to think about it as a trapeze. So you're on one trapeze and you're going to go to the next trapeze.
Hmm.
You're going to have a moment where you're in between the two. You are literally free. If you think about grabbing a trapeze and then you got to turn and grab another one, well, there is going to be 0.05 seconds where you're suspended between the two. And that is the most uncomfortable. I tried to leave my full time position that I just left 3 times before I actually got the energy to do it. Or I shouldn't say the energy, before I got the confidence, the real confidence to do it. The biggest thing is that you have to have the next trapeze lined up for you, or at least an inkling of it. Oh, it's going to
Hmm.
look this way, I think. I'm going to have this. I have a few clients to get started. I have a little website, so that you're not turning and saying, "Well, I'll figure it out then," because then you're just free falling.
Hmm.
No, you have to actually create the next thing very often while you're doing the current thing. It's
Hmm.
hard. It's
Yes.
hard, and it is a leap of faith, but it's a
Yeah.
calculated leap of faith because you're following your own instincts. You're following models that work. You're doing a lot of market research. I mean, this is where we can get into, people say, "Well, how am I going to make the great money?" Well, you're going to start understanding who's making money in that field that you're most interested in. And then you'll start being creative about it. And it's just a whole another world, but it's a lot of that trust and free fall.
Mercy. So trusting in your gut, trusting in your own voice, trusting in that impression, that feeling, that calling that you feel on the inside, to take your feet, your mind, and just start moving forward, right? And I like what you said earlier, as far as having in your mind that vision to what that next step, that first next step, have what that next thing can look like or should be, so that you're not just walking blindly. I love that. I
Right.
absolutely.
And my trapeze that I just gave, I mean, that was a huge leap, but I had made a lot of small leaps at that
Yes.
point. I had
Yes.
made, let me try this out. Let me try this out. I
Yes.
never posted on social media before. And then all of a sudden I started getting comfortable with that. And then I
Yes.
figured out how to charge
Mhm.
clients. And right. So it continues to be one little transformational step at a time.
I love that. There's a quote that I found that I love that says, "Crossroads are not failures, but invitations. Feeling stuck often signals growth is required. Instead of resisting, ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me?" I absolutely love that. Feeling stuck often signals that growth is required. Our leaders who are listening, who are watching right now, this is another moment for reflection and assessment. Is there anywhere in your heart, mind, spirit, soul, right, in your circumstances where you're getting the signal? It's time to pivot. It's time to reset. It's time to move forward. There are some things you may have to let go of. I found, Rachel, whenever it was time for me to pivot, to move forward, to I was at a crossroad, there was something that I had to let go of so that I could move forward. And I love the word you used earlier, courage. Courage. Mm. I'm pausing for a moment because I know that there's a leader that's watching this right now, and that there's tension when it comes to courage. But Rachel told us, have the courage to just envision what that next thing is. Have the courage to take a step, right? Rachel said she never posted on social media before. but she knew that it was time to turn. It was time for something new. And so now she has found herself 2 months in, posting on social media and being courageous so that she can continue to move forward in alignment with the vision and the goals. I absolutely love it. So, Rachel, as we bring this to a close, I'm going to ask you to share with us, if you could leave leaders with one powerful word of encouragement, advice from your own career crossroads, what would it be?
So I want to share when I started this. My name is Rachel Spekman, so it's Rachel Spekman Coaching. That was what it was, Rachel Spekman. I said, I should have a name for this. What's the name for it? And someone turned to me and said, it'll come to you. It will find you. The name will find you. About 3 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, I was talking to a client and she was really in a hard way and about to leave her job. And she just said, I said to her, I think you're made for more than this. And she said, oh my gosh, that's the name of your company. And that is the name of my company now, Made for More Coaching. Why am I sharing this story? Because yes, we want to listen to the call, and we want to do the work, and we also want to allow. So if we're forcing, that's its own data. So we need to find this combination of active and initiative driving, and also allowing and inviting and receiving.
Mm, I love that. Say that one more time, please. I love that.
This is a beautiful way of demonstrating it. If you clasp your hands together and say, we didn't even talk about rigidity or I must enjoy it. But if we say it must go this way, this is the plan. If we loosen up a little bit, this is where we let the light in. This is where we let the space in.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I'm going to use that. I love that. Thank you so much. Well, listen, this has been an amazing conversation. And you know what? We really just scratched the surface. Really scratched. So, Rachel, we may have to have you come back on again so we can have a part two.
Thank
Um,
you.
as I know that there are leaders who are watching right now who are in this tension. And this is a very real, practical discussion that we're having on how we can live through not allowing stuck to be the end, right? So, Rachel, you have resources that you have available. I'm going to invite you right now. Please share. If there's a leader that's listening and watching that wants to engage with you, tap into your resources, or maybe even ask you some questions, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yep. So my website is Rachel Spekman, SPEKMAN.com, or madeformorecoach.com is the other website that directs you to there. I have a free training. I do ongoing coaching, and I also do one time what's called a high stakes career audit. So really what's a decision point that you're working through right now? And we do a 90-minute deep dive into what's going on. And then we assess if ongoing coaching is going to be helpful or what's going to be your next step. Please
Mm-hmm.
find me on social media. I can put my LinkedIn there, but that's kind of where I post the most. And you can also always email me. You can find it all on my website.
Fantastic. All right. So, Transformation Station community, we want to support Rachel, support her, as well as tap into the resources that she has. So, you see the link, it'll also be in the description as well. Also, contact her, let her know that you watched this episode or you listened to it. Ask her questions, let her know what resonated with you from today. Rachel, thank you again so much for joining us. It has been a true pleasure to host you here on Transformation Station.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, there you have it. I want us to remember today that being stuck doesn't define us. No, it actually, come on now, it refines us. Every career crossroad is an invitation to lead yourself differently. And in doing so, you also will lead others. If today's conversation sparked a new perspective for you, I want to invite you right now to go ahead and share this episode with a colleague, share it with a friend who themselves might be navigating their own crossroads. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to Transformation Station so that you absolutely never miss the tools and the inspiration we provide to fuel you to your next breakthrough. All right, now it's your turn. I'm asking you this question. How will you transform your crossroads into your launchpad? Let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Buzzsprout, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And until next time, keep moving forward with courage and with clarity.